Building a better Bay Area. Moving forward, finding solutions. This is ABC 7 News.
It is kicking out here today.
I'm pretty sure it's like 99 degrees.
It is kicking out here today. Now it's 6. We're talking about the heat wave coming to the Bay Area, and today's expected to be the hottest day of the week. Mike is tracking possible record high temperatures.
And here's a live look outside this morning as the sun rises and it heats up. Cal ISO has issued its first flex alert of the year, what you're being asked to do this afternoon.
And masks in the workplace. New guidance expected today and the timeline of when it could go into effect.
Now look at this background.
Beautiful.
It is beautiful, but also looks like it is cooking in here today.
Already.
Really?
Already.
It's here. Yes, and right now is as cool and as comfortable as it gets today.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yes, all right. So a lot of us already under a heat advisory. It began at 11 o'clock yesterday morning, and then later on at 11 o'clock this morning, we ramp it up to an excessive heat warning as temperatures in the red could reach 98 to 110 degrees. That's record highs likely. And look at this. Where's that sea breeze? It's absolutely absent as we look at the winds, except for along the coast. It'll pick up a little bit, and that's why you'll be in the 70s to some low to mid 80s in San Francisco, with mid 80s to mid 90s around the Bay and upper 90s to almost 110 inland.
All right, thank you, Mike. So we know a lot of you are going to be firing up the AC today to beat the heat, but Cal ISO is warning people to conserve energy.
That's right. ABC 7 News reporter Amy Hollyfield live in San Jose with more on the flex alert that it's issued for tonight. Amy.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, we're here at the Diridon Transit Center here in San Jose. We're talking to people about this heat. They're bracing for it. They say they plan to stay out of the sun today, and Cal ISO is asking them to do a lot more than that today. They're asking all of us to conserve energy. They really need us to cut back on our energy use with a focus on conserving between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. The power grid is expected to really be pushed to the max in this heat. So the manager of that grid says we all need to do our part. And not only in our homes, but also at work, we need to cut back. Our businesses really need to conserve so we don't face blackouts.
We're asking people to set their thermostats to 78 degrees or higher if their health permits, to avoid using major appliances, and to turn off all unnecessary lights.
And the big appliances at home that use a lot of energy are the dishwasher, the oven, the washer and dryer. They're really asking that we limit the use of those this evening. Officials say conservation has made a big difference in the past. They say Californians typically step up and really do this when they are asked. So they're hoping today is no exception. People here at this station are also doing their part because they're taking public transportation. It is a Spare the Air Day. So officials also asking us today to stay out of our cars. Live in San Jose, Amy Hollyfield, ABC 7 News.
Amy, thank you. That goes right into our next story. A Spare the Air alert is in effect in the Bay Area today. Here's a live look at I-680 from our Walnut Creek camera. The high temps combined with vehicle exhaust expected to create an excessive amount of smog. This is the second time we've received this alert this year. So if you can, as Amy said, drive less to reduce air pollution. And by the way, if you're smelling smoke in the air, that is not coming from around here. It's coming from Arizona. The National Weather Service says the smoke is drifting from a 1,200-acre fire that is burning there.
This morning, the power is back on for most people after outages hit across the Bay Area yesterday afternoon. The lights were out as far north as Yountville and Vallejo. Last night, though, there were lines outside of the Danville Smart and Final and the nearby Taco Bell after 3,500 customers lost power in that area. A gas station was roped off during that outage, too. The cause is unclear, but it happened at a time when the temperatures were hovering around 100 degrees. In Walnut Creek, many people sought relief from the heat at Heather Farm's swimming pool.
It's just too hot. Like the stuff is like burning.
Very hot, and that just hot.
And it's expected to get even hotter today. Many say they will either go back to the shade or back in the pool to stay cool.
And here's one idea in the South Bay. You can escape the heat and don't have to wear a mask by going to Great America's newly expanded water park. It's now called South Bay Shores. It just opened in Santa Clara last week. Due to the state's reopening, vaccinated people don't have to worry about masks or social distancing.
I didn't realize we could take the mask off, and I thought I was going to get that tan line with the mask. I'm just happy to be here. I can't wait to go on all the water rides, all the new ones. This is exciting.
The water park's general manager says they are waiting to allow maximum capacity. They want to get feedback from guests, but they also need to hire more staff to make that happen. You can check out the temperatures anytime on your TV. Our real-time temperature tracker lets you see the current temps in cities across the Bay Area. They're live right now on our ABC7 Bay Area Connected TV app. You can download the app for Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, or Fire TV. Just search for ABC7 Bay Area.
President Biden is back in Washington, D.C. this morning, and today he's expected to sign a measure establishing June 19th as Juneteenth National Independence Day. This commemorates when enslaved African Americans in Texas found out Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation 2 years earlier and that they were free. The House approved the bill yesterday with 14 Republicans voting against it. The president is signing the act at 12:30 our time. Vice President Harris will also be there, and they are both expected to speak after the signing.
This morning, President Biden says he accomplished what he came to do following his historic face-to-face meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Jabina Fortune at the live desk with what happens next after the Geneva summit.
Thank you, Reggie. Both sides have agreed to, quote, consultations about cybersecurity. That was a big topic during the 2-hour and 38-minute face-to-face meeting yesterday morning. Putin took no responsibility for recent cyber attacks linked to Russia, but President Biden let him know what won't be accepted. The president gave Putin 16 areas of critical infrastructure that should be off limits to cyber attacks, including telecommunications, healthcare, and food. If ignored, the president issued a stern warning.
I pointed out to him we have significant cyber capability, and he knows it. He doesn't know exactly what it is, but it's significant. And if in fact they violate these basic norms, we will respond.
Biden and Putin did agree to return their respective ambassadors to Washington and Moscow. It's a move being described as a positive sign. Kumasi.
All right, thank you, Jobina. Happening today, Cal OSHA is expected to vote on new guidelines that would no longer require vaccinated people to wear masks at work. On Monday, Governor Newsom said California workers would soon be able to stop wearing masks, saying that the state would be consistent with CDC guidelines. If Cal OSHA adopts these rules, it could also end social distancing while at work. People who are not vaccinated would still have to wear masks when working indoors or in vehicles. The governor has said that he would sign an executive order if Cal OSHA approves the new guidelines, so this order could go into effect immediately.
New at 6, Rafael Nadal says that he will not play at Wimbledon or at the Tokyo Olympics. He made the announcement on Twitter just a little bit ago. The 20-time Grand Slam champ wrote that he is listening to his body in order to prolong his career. Nadal also cited the short timeline between the French Open and Wimbledon as part of his decision. Nadal won Wimbledon in 2008 and 2010. He also won Olympic gold medals in 2008 and 2016.
Still ahead, the San Francisco landmark that's reopening today. It's welcoming back tourists for the first time since the pandemic started.
This aquarium gets an A+ for customer service. How one woman was granted admission for a ticket that was bought back in the 1980s.
In our activity plan today, it's all about beating the heat and the possibility of poor air quality for those most sensitive. So if you can, limit your energy use, drink early and often, even if you're not thirsty. And right now is the best time to get out and exercise. We'll talk about record temperatures and how long that will last coming up.
Building a better Bay Area. Moving forward, finding solutions. This is ABC7 News.
Now at 6, team coverage of the deadly rampage in San Jose. A 9th victim died overnight, and we have the names of all the VTA employees killed in this tragedy.
This morning, there's a growing memorial for the victims outside of San Jose City Hall. Here's a live look at that. ABC7 News reporter Julian Glover is there with details about tonight's vigil.
And security video showing the shooter just minutes before the attack. His home still an active crime scene this morning. ABC7 News reporter Amy Hollyfield has a live update from the sheriff this morning.
And Jobina is in the studio. She's digging into the shooter's past. Thanks for joining us. It is Thursday, May 27th. You are watching ABC7 Mornings live on ABC7, Hulu Live, and wherever you stream.
The county has now released the names of all the victims, and here are pictures of 3 of them. This is 42-year-old Paul Mejia, 36-year-old Tadajit Singh, and 40-year-old Michael Rudomikin. The 9th victim has been identified as 49-year-old Alex Fritsch, who died last night. Other victims are 29-year-old Adrian Beleza, 35-year-old Jose de Jesus Hernandez III, 49-year-old Timothy Romo, who a neighbor told the Chronicle was a husband, father, and VTA power foreman, 63-year-old Abdul Wahab Algmaden, and 63-year-old Lars Lane, who, according to his LinkedIn page, was a journeyman lineman.
And now, where the investigation stands this morning, police say the shooter killed 9 people at the VTA light rail yard during a shift change that was just after 6:30 yesterday morning. We do expect a news conference with VTA at 10 this morning that will include a tribute to the victims and updates on how this tragedy is impacting the agency. The shooter has been identified as a VTA maintenance worker. Investigators have not revealed a motive. VTA light rail service has been suspended and buses will be available instead.
Tonight, the community will gather outside of San Jose City Hall for a vigil to honor the victims. And that's where ABC 7 News reporter Julian Glover is live this morning with a look at that growing memorial. Julian.
There's simply no words to comfort the families who had a loved one snatched away from them, their lives cut short in this latest mass shooting. But we do know tonight the city of San Jose, the community at large, will be coming together with those families to help them grieve and mourn. Let's get to that growing memorial outside of the San Jose City Hall this morning. You see flowers left behind, candles lit still at this early hour, and flowers surrounding the names of the victims that we now know. Again, the vigil will be happening here at 6 p.m. tonight. Families we've spoken to are just heartbroken this morning, like the family of 36-year-old Taptadish Deep Singh, a light rail operator who was one of the 9 people killed Wednesday. He leaves behind a wife and 2 young children. This morning, he's being remembered as kind, a friend, and a hero, an employee telling Singh's brother that Taptadish Deep saved lives.
One lady he put in the control room to hide over here, you know. He can go there too, actually, but he just saved her, and then after that he go towards the downstairs, you know.
Co-workers telling the family he left a secure room where people were hunkered down to get others to safety. You can only imagine the bravery that took. While his own life was on the line, he risked it to save others. Again, that vigil is at 6 p.m. tonight here at San Jose City Hall. And for folks who might be coming in from outside of San Jose and are less familiar with the area, that's 200 East Santa Clara Street. For folks unfamiliar, we do know that San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo, along with city council members, of course, many family members, the VTA community at large will be here live in San Jose, at 6 p.m. to remember those lives cut short. For now, reporting live, Julian Glover, ABC 7 News.
Julian, thank you. The daughter of a 25-year-old employee at VTA spoke to Good Morning America, and she says her father was working at the rail yard during the shooting spree, saying that he ran outside and hid behind a train car.
You know, he was praying the whole time and wasn't sure if he was going to come home to us, so it was definitely very scary.
You can help support victims in this tragedy by going to abc7news.com/takeaction. We have information about how to donate to the families directly impacted by this gun violence.
This morning, investigators are still at the VTA rail yard where the shooting happened. ABC 7 News reporter Amy Hollyfield live with an update from the sheriff. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning. For the first time, we are hearing about the guns that investigators found. Sheriff Lori Smith told us this morning they found 2 automatic pistols and 11 magazines full of ammunition. She thinks her deputy's arrival saved lives yesterday, that when the gunman saw the deputies enter the building, that's when he stopped killing people and turned the weapon and killed himself. Another person died late last night, bringing the death toll to 9 shooting victims. The sheriff told us this morning there are no victims with injuries. Everyone who was shot has died. She says there is no obvious motive at this point. The shooter did not leave behind a note, but she says they are looking.
Obviously, we'll be doing searches on search warrants on emails and telephones, and we'll be able to see texts and things like that. Those kinds of things may lead to something. I don't know if there have been any written documents found so far, not that I'm aware of.
And in a very ironic twist, the sheriff revealed that these VTA workers had been trained for this. The sheriff's office conducted a mass shooter training exercise right here at this location, at this rail yard, within the past year. And then yesterday morning at 6:30, it happened for real. We asked the sheriff how her deputies are holding up. She said they are struggling after seeing so many dead that they could not help. She says investigators will be here for at least another day searching this scene for evidence. Reporting live in San Jose, Amy Holyfield, ABC 7 News.
Amy, thank you. As the deadly shooting rampage unfolded at the VTA service yard, firefighters were responding to a fire at the suspect's home on Angmar Court in East San Jose. That home is still an active crime scene this morning. Jobina is tracking that part of the story. Jobina.
Thank you, Reggie. Investigators have not said what caused the fire. We have a live look from Sky 7 right now, flying above the suspect's home, so we can get an idea of the scene there. The road is back open, and this is the suspect's home in the middle of the screen. We saw investigators yesterday in the backyard looking. You can see police vehicles there right now. It is still an active site. We do not know when they will clear this area, but of course, a number of things were found inside this home. A neighbor's surveillance camera shows the suspect just after 5:30 yesterday morning, dressed in a VTA uniform, calmly loading up his truck to head to work. But moments after the suspect left, the house burst into flames with heavy smoke billowing from the windows. This is cell phone video from a neighbor across the street. Those flames were so intense that firefighters couldn't initially go inside. With the mass shooting just 11 miles away, then the arrival of the San Jose Police Bomb Squad, followed by the ATF and then the FBI, it soon became clear to neighbors that this house had become a major crime scene.
I had no idea those two, were correlated. I just got some information now that he probably lit up his house and then went over there and went crazy. It's really shocking. I had no idea that type of stuff was, happening right across the street from my house.
Law enforcement has confirmed to us that both ammunition and fuel tanks were among the contents found inside the house. Reggie.
Jobina, thank you. President Biden offered his condolences and said his administration is monitoring the situation in San Jose. Yesterday's shooting happened as Biden's nominee to lead the ATF was facing a confirmation hearing on Capitol Hill. The ATF is tasked with enforcing firearms laws. California Senator Dianne Feinstein mentioned the shooting in her question to nominee David Chipman.
Well, I wanted to say thank you for that question, but first, I'm sorry to hear that news. I wasn't aware of that. If I'm confirmed as ATF director, one of our priorities at ATF will be focusing on gun trafficking, the unlawful transfer of legal guns to criminals, and perhaps in this case, a crime like this could be prevented. So as ATF tries to solve crimes, we will have to strive just as hard to prevent them from ever happening in the first place.
Chipman worked for the ATF for 2 decades and has since been involved with gun control groups, something he is facing Republican opposition for. ABC 7 News is staying on top of this developing story. This is the push alert we sent out on the ABC 7 News app when the news broke. Download the app and enable push alerts to get the latest updates right to your phone.
All right, let's take a look for a moment at what to expect weather-wise. And you can see as we look inland, temperatures are running in the upper 40s to near 50 through the Tri-Valley and low to mid-50s elsewhere. You can see a few clouds hanging over the East Bay Hills. That's a big difference from yesterday. And a little fog trying to push into Nevada also, where it's 41, 42 in Santa Rosa. 46 in Mountain View. Everybody else around the Bay pretty much in the low to mid 50s. So let's talk about what to expect today. Temperatures are going to remain right where they are through the 7 o'clock hour. Notice we've got 50s at the coast all throughout the day, where the winds will be fastest for the longest period of time. The winds will pick up around 3 o'clock this afternoon, which is going to keep our temperatures in the 60s and 70s for most of us. Good news as far as your planner goes, that there's still the same conditions out there, so you should be prepared for them. Breezy across our north-south bridges and a little choppy on the bay. And I wanted to jump ahead to this weekend. If you're heading out, yes, there's some moderate out there, but the air quality is still going to be healthy for all of us. Jobina?
I'll take it from here, Mike. Thank you. Our team coverage of the tragedy in San Jose is continuing, including new details about the shooter from a VTA worker who was there.
I was shocked to find out who it was myself. I've had a good relationship with him.
Witnesses described the moment that he opened fire as deputies rushed in.
Now at 6:30, the urgent response to the coronavirus pandemic.
4 students at this school are already being tested for coronavirus.
As schools close, teachers turn to educating students online. Congress expected to vote on a deal today to provide sick leave and free testing. Meanwhile, President Trump's travel ban from Europe to the U.S. begins tonight.
An option on the table, potentially freezing travel between states if a particular state has a coronavirus outbreak.
Our ABC 7 News team coverage of the coronavirus starts now.
Now, your health, your safety. This is ABC 7 News.
Welcome back, everyone. We are taking a live look right now at the opening bell on Wall Street. We all know twice this week, trading was stalled shortly after it started, and now investors are anxiously waiting to see how the market is doing today.
Jobina is standing by. She's going to be looking at the numbers as soon as they start to go. As you can see, they've already changed policy because it looked ridiculous when you had people there clapping and laughing and carrying on, which is what they normally do when they open and close the bell, but clearly there's nothing to laugh or clap about these days. So they have taken...
It's brand new because yesterday they were at the closing bell.
They were still at the closing bell, clapping and laughing. So things have changed. Good morning on this Friday, March 13th. Now to our other top story this morning, 2 mass shootings under investigation. All of this as President Biden takes executive action on gun control. Jobina at the live desk with that. Jobina.
Thank you, Reggie. We're learning more about the suspect in the shooting rampage in South Carolina, former 49ers and Raiders player Philip Adams. He spent 5 injury-riddled seasons in the league, suffering at least 2 concussions within a 3-game period. In 2012, on Thursday, police say he shot and killed 5 people, including a prominent local doctor, his wife, and 2 grandchildren. Also, a man working at the property was found dead. Investigators say Adams later died by suicide. Police say less than 24 hours later, an employee at this cabinet company in Bryan, Texas, shot and killed at least 1 person. 4 others were critically hurt. The 27-year-old suspect also shot a state trooper before being arrested. That state trooper is said to be in stable condition.
Gun violence in this country is an epidemic, and it's an international embarrassment.
President Biden has since used executive action to tighten regulations on so-called ghost guns. He's also placing restrictions on stabilizing and encouraging states to enact red flag laws. Investigators have not released a motive for either of the shootings. Reggie and Kamasi.
Jobina, thank you. Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong was the only law enforcement officer invited to D.C. for the president's announcement yesterday. He is still in Washington this morning, and he's joining us live. Chief, first of all, this is the first time we're talking to you since you've been installed, so congratulations on the position. You're entering this in a time that is quite challenging in Oakland. At one point last month, we saw homicides up 314% compared to the year to date from the year before. So what is happening in Oakland that we are seeing such gun violence spike?
Well, I think we're impacted by several different things. One in particular is an increase in ghost guns. And so being here in Washington and hearing President Biden talk about taking steps to actually produce legislation that would limit these ghost guns, I think was good for the city of Oakland. We've experienced 3 homicides in the last 24 hours in Oakland. So gun violence continues to be on the rise in Oakland, and to be here in D.C. and hear the president speak to the families that are the victims of this violence and really hear his commitment to reducing gun violence was really helpful. And I hope that the city of Oakland is the recipient of some of the grant funding that will be granted to cities for violence prevention.
Chief Armstrong, I think a lot of people might not really understand what ghost guns are. Can you talk about that and what's going on with the ghost guns in Oakland and how you think this executive action will kind of change things there?
Yeah, these are firearms that are manufactured through kits. They come with in pieces and are put together by individuals. These guns do not have any serial numbers and they're unable to be tracked. And so when they're used in the community to commit a shooting, it limits the law enforcement's ability to trace that firearm, trace where it came from, the ballistics related to that firearm. And so it makes it really challenging as we seek to better understand where these guns are coming from and who used these guns in these particular crimes. And so we also know that these guns are sometimes sold to people who can't purchase firearms for some other reason, whether it's because they have an issue with mental health or they're just not permitted to have a firearm, but they are able to make these guns and not be traced. And so that loophole needs to be closed, and I think the president touched on that yesterday.
Chief, you've been with Oakland Police now for more than 2 decades, so you have a lot of experience seeing success in Oakland. It wasn't too long ago there was a 50% decrease in homicides. That was 2012 to 2017, and that's largely because of targeted efforts that Oakland Police made. What has changed that those successes have now reversed?
Well, I think the pandemic had a tremendous impact on law enforcement across the country, but in Oakland in particular. Our ceasefire strategy is our primary strategy for reducing gun violence, and we were unable to practice that ceasefire strategy in the same way that we have been doing for many years and seeing a lot of success, like you mentioned. Unable to directly communicate with those at risk, but also unable to do violence interruption like we've done in the past. Oakland's Department of Violence Prevention has been really successful at making relationships with those that are involved in violence, and because of the pandemic, they weren't able to do violence prevention in the same way. We weren't able to directly communicate, and I think as the pandemic begins to move forward in terms of us moving into different tiers, we're able to actually get back to our normal way of doing our ceasefire strategy, and we're looking forward to more direct communication with those involved in violence.
Chief Armstrong, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time. People's thoughts on race boil down to just 6 words, and their stories so enlightening. I spoke with the founder of the Race Card Project.
Plus, Diana Ross releasing new original music for the first time in decades. The single from her upcoming album that is out today.
And as we head to break, we are taking a live look outside this morning at the Bay Bridge. We'll be right back. Coming up, continuing coverage on the coronavirus pandemic, the extreme measures one airline is taking after a huge drop in business, and sticking to the books while schools are closed, the key to keeping kids engaged in class while learning online.
But first, we check in with your weather, and it is going to be a rainy weekend, right, Mike?
Yeah, great weekend to stay inside. Absolutely. Hi, everybody. Let's take a look.
Thanks for being at New at 6. Reacting to the coronavirus emergency, many panic buyers are stocking up on the wrong things. What experts say you really should be buying at the store. Plus,
there's a lot of confusion when it comes to travel this morning. We know that there is a European travel ban going into effect tonight, but now new word of a potential domestic travel ban too. We're sorting out the fact from fiction this morning at SFO.
What are we protecting ourselves from? Corona.
Well, this 6-year-old from the North Bay gives a master class on hand washing. Maybe you can learn something from his technique.
We are going to win the Democratic nomination.
Here in California, Senator Bernie Sanders is leading with more than 30% of the vote. The Associated Press has called the race for him here. It's unclear, though, how many delegates Sanders will get from California because ballots are still being counted.
Billionaire Michael Bloomberg has suspended his campaign for president, and he's endorsing former Vice President Joe Biden. In a statement, he says he will work to make Biden the next president.
2 latest cases of the coronavirus confirmed by Santa Clara County public health officials just yesterday, bringing the total number in the county to 11.
We are recommending that people at higher risk avoid mass gatherings such as parades, sporting events, and concerts.
The age bracket we now know is most at risk, according to public health officials, people 80 and older.
A couple of hundredths of an inch of rain Saturday morning, and by Saturday afternoon, the sun will start to come out. We'll set our clocks forward before going to bed as daylight saving begins Saturday night. The slow warming trend for Monday and Tuesday.